the M3 lineup got announced all at once. So this was different compared to the M1 and the M2s, where the Pro chips and the regular baseline chips were sort of announced separately. This time, Apple went with announcing the baseline M3 and then also the Pro and the Max chips at the same time. And look, yeah, I handheld a few of them while I was in Japan. The black one's really nice, even though it's not really black, depending on the light that hits it. But it's still a nice machine. I think what I wanted to touch on was just that I don't think they've dug a hole for themselves, because I think they've set themselves up really nicely, Apple, with the way they're running the MacBooks now. But it's interesting that when the M1s came out, for instance, right at the beginning of this cycle, which was in 2020, you would buy them full price at retail because they were that much better than what you could get off a refurbished store or an old Intel machine, because they're all old Intel machines, etc. And you would just go straight at that. The quantifiable jump in performance was staggering. But now we get to a point where they're not cheap machines, for instance, and all these M3 machines I'm sure are fantastic. I'm sure they're, whatever, 15-20% faster, or whatever the benchmarks and graphs that Apple says that they are. But the reality is that, when I picked up my M1 Pro, MacBook Pro, off the Apple's refurbished store, and the advantage of doing that is that you get the guarantee that they've checked it out and that they've cleaned it up, put a new battery in, etc., and you get to buy it for less money. Now, that has only, in my mind, become more the case, because you can buy an M1 series machine or an M2 series machine now that's got more capability potentially than what these M3 chips do, and the classic comparison would be the baseline M3 MacBook Pro compared to the M2 Pro MacBook Pro. You get more ports, you can hook up to more displays on the M2 Pro, but you actually are paying either equivalent or less than what is supposedly the later M3 model. So it's interesting. I just wonder what I lay all of that out because I wonder what it does for their sales numbers and stuff, because I think they've really generated a really good used market because the M1, even the baseline M1 right now, is still light years ahead already.
Yeah, look, I think you've really hit the nail on the head. Phones are a transient sort of item. So even if you can get 8 years out of an iPhone, you're probably going to want to upgrade it, even if you're really stingy like me, every 4 years. You know, Laptops are different. If laptops are working, and it doesn't matter whether it's a PC or a Mac, if a laptop's working, you tend to just keep going and just working it until it becomes something that impacts your workflow. Things just don't operate fast enough, or you can't do things quickly enough, or smoothly enough. Look, as someone who's just got a standard M1 MacBook, wow, I'm still blown away by it. And it's not a patch on the Pro, it's not a patch on whether it's one or two or three, and yet it does more than I could have expected, and still more than I ask for on a daily basis. So, where's my desire to upgrade this? It's probably pretty low at the moment, and the way I'm seeing things is Apple will software me out through the OS is the only way they'll get me to upgrade. So I think you've hit the nail on the head. There's always going to be people that want the newest and the latest, and have the available cash for those things. But I think what you're pointing to is the fact that you're in no way disadvantaged buying a refurb. And in some cases, the argument is you'd be better off, both in terms of what you spend and even the features. I mean, they're fantastic. They're an absolutely fantastic range of laptops. It doesn't matter which one you get, likely you'll be happy.
Absolutely. One thing I did want to finish up on, and it'll be interesting because they don't have to answer this question yet, although I'm sure they've answered it themselves internally, is when they will software people out of the M1 machines. How will they do it? Will they bifurcate it? So like people who bought Pro and Max machines, maybe they last a bit longer. I mean, at the moment, I think it's still pretty pretty good in that you get about 6 or 7 years of OS support on any given Mac that you buy, assuming that you buy it on its initial release, like from day one. So it was a bit more, I guess it was predictable in the Intel days. You kind of know what they were doing there, but this is a different ball game. Like you said, the chips are that much more capable that unless they really ramp up what macOS is doing, they introduce some sort of feature that only the M6 Max chip can run or something like that, which seems a little silly. I don't know. Maybe it's tied to the Vision Pro, shooting 3D video footage, the spatial video that they're talking about, this sort of stuff. Who knows? Like it doesn't seem as concrete. Like we're well and truly past that era where hardware is easily dismissed as not being up to the task anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's why I think it'd almost certainly be an operating system. Look, you think of these new Macs, as you've said numerous times, they're hardly stressed by, 90% of routine tasks. If you are a pro and you're at that hard end of the 10%, that's where you're going to be affected first, and you probably will only get 4 or 5, 6 years out of your machine, and that's probably all you'll want anyway, because the next advance will be there. But really, if you're buying one of these and you're using Word 365 and doing a bit of browsing and watching a video, and even if you're just cutting some clips for yourself and your family, and even if they're high quality using ProRes, you're not really going to encounter any problems. And in fact, what you'll find is, while you may get to a point where you can't upgrade the OS anymore, they'll still be standalone machines that you'll be able to operate for whatever workflows you have. So, I mean, nothing rattles in these machines. There's no moving parts. It's really just how long will the battery last. And if you can get 10, 11, 12 years, and then maybe you just run it off direct charge, who knows, 15, 20 years for an M series MacBook. We can only hope.
That sounds like a challenge right there. I might have to just hang on to mine and see what happens, and we'll come back when we're doing SciTech Culture episode 3400 or something, and then we'll wheel it out and see what's going on.